Hey, RetconRaider here, with a bit more Phantom Brigade. Now, as I mentioned in my last video, the developers at Tetragon Works were generous enough to send me a copy of the current alpha build of Phantom Brigade, and I ended up recording about 45 minutes worth of gameplay footage for the purposes of making my video. Now, obviously I only used about 8 minutes of it in the actual video, and it seemed like a shame to let it all go to waste. So, as a quick little bonus video, here's the first 15 minutes of my footage with some extra commentary added on top. Now, before we dive in too deep, I should make it clear that this is just an alpha build. The game is still in a very early development stage, so there are going to be placeholders, and remember, pretty much everything is still subject to change as development moves forward. Now this, of course, is the Hangar. This is where the player will keep track of all of their walkers. The alpha build comes with 4 default walkers, but the current alpha build does give the player the ability for limited customization. There are about 20 different slots on your standard walker frame, and at the moment the alpha build of the game has about 2 to 4 options for each one of those slots. The final version of the game will obviously have a much larger selection of parts that you can use on your mechs, but for now this gives us a good cross-section of the sort of things that the developers have planned. It's also worth mentioning that even though this is an alpha build, there's already a pretty comprehensive customization system in place as well. At the moment, there are 37 colors to choose from, which can be applied to the primary, secondary, or tertiary layers of your mech. You can change the mech's color scheme as a whole, or you can actually color individual limbs if you prefer an asymmetrical appearance. There's also a small assortment of materials that you can use, personally I prefer metallic, as well as a small assortment of camo patterns. There we go, one nice electric blue walker with rust red trim. The sort of thing that'll blend right in a rundown amusement park. Now let's go take a quick look at the weapons that are implemented in the current alpha build. The longsword here comes standard equipped with a sniper rifle and a submachine gun, but there are 6 different categories of weapons in the current version of the game. Personally, I'm a big fan of the sniper rifle, but I am going to swap out the longsword submachine gun for something a little heavier. I do have 2 options when it comes to sniper rifles, but I'll stick with this one. It's got a slower rate of fire, but a much higher damage per shot. Now let's head over to the operations room and go looking for a little trouble. For the purposes of the alpha build, there are only 5 pre-made missions to choose from. But the final version of the game will obviously have a more procedural approach to mission generation. Again, this is just enough to give us an idea of what the developers have planned for the final game. At the moment, we have 3 different mission types to choose from, set against 3 different types of terrain. Since I don't have a whole lot of spare time today, we'll start off with something basic. We'll do the patrol ambush in the Underlect Forest. This is a relatively simple 2 versus 2 skirmish on a fairly small map. And this is the mission preparation screen. I could go and swap out pilots and walkers now, but it's not really necessary. I've already modified all of my walkers to my liking, so we'll be rolling in with the Lancer and the Jackal here. And here we are in the scenic Underlocked Forest. And because this is a fairly small map, you can actually see the enemies are practically within engagement range already. You can also see that there's a bit of NPC chatter there. That's just placeholder mock-ups for now, but in the final version of the game, the NPCs will have a more dynamic chatter system. Since we're in pretty close quarters, I'm going to start things off aggressively. I'll move up the Lancer and see if I can take the immediate advantage with a burst from my automatic sniper rifle. Not bad. You can see there that I actually took out both of his feet and part of his right arm. It's a good start, but let's see if we can do a little more damage. There we go. At this point I've done heavy damage to both of his legs and his right arm. That means he'll be moving a lot more slowly, and he'll have a much harder time hitting me with the weapon in his right hand. It looks like he's decided to rush past the Lancer and shoot it from behind. But he's using his pistol, so it's going to take him a while to chew through the Lancer's armor. Now the undamaged walker is moving in as well. Again, it looks like he's using the majority of his action points to get in close. Ah, but he has a shotgun. Fortunately, the Lancer's armor is holding up for now, so let's go ahead and focus on the more damaged of the two enemies. We're way too close to reasonably use the launcher, so we'll have the Jackal go ahead and switch off to its heavy assault rifle. The first burst did a lot of damage scattered across the enemy's armor, and the second burst just took out its right arm. You can actually see the entire limb is missing now. That means he's stuck using his pistol for the rest of the battle. Though that third burst did just take out another part of his left arm, as well as his torso. Not bad. Now, I could pull the Lancer back to a more defensive position, but this map is pretty small. Fortunately, the Lancer does have a shotgun in its offhand, so let's go ahead and use that instead. The shotgun's designed for close quarters combat, so let's move up as close as we possibly can before we fire. Well, we emptied our entire magazine into the enemy mech, but for the most part all we did was a lot of armor damage. We did knock out one part of its left leg, but that's not going to do much to stop him from counterattacking. That badly damaged walker is still harassing us with the pistol, and this time it managed to take out a chunk of our left arm. And now the shotgunner's joining in. Well, that could have actually been a lot worse. We've taken a lot of armor damage, but so far the actual component damage is minimal. Let's go ahead and move the Jackal up and start shooting this other enemy in the back. Wow, okay, that just tore up a lot of the mech systems. I didn't see what all the components I damaged were, but I'm pretty sure I saw the pod shell in there, and I think that means the enemy pilot can't eject now. Let's go ahead and keep pouring it on. We'll move the Lancer back and then put another couple of shotgun rounds into this badly damaged mech. Looks like that first burst actually took out one of his weapons. And there goes the other one, as well as the vast majority of his external systems. Now the Pistolier is running in to try to save the day. Though, he didn't do a very good job of it. Let's go ahead and see if we can finish off this mech, then we'll start focusing on the other one. Well, we've literally disarmed him, but we can do better than that. Almost there. And that'll do it. The enemy mech's core is melting down, so that means it's time for our Lancer to back up to a safer distance. And that explosion actually just took out a number of additional systems on the other remaining walker. Since we disabled the ejection system on that first mech, that means the pilot inside it just died. In the final game, if his patrol partner here were to escape, he would actually remember what we had done. And when we encountered him again later in the game, his dialogue would be updated to reflect that we had killed his squad mate. Speaking of which, it looks like he's decided he'd rather not share his partner's fate, and thus our first mission comes to an end. I do plan on putting together another video showcasing one of the longer missions, but for now, I hope this is enough to give you an idea of the current state of the game's alpha. Like I said in my first video, Phantom Brigade already looks pretty promising, and I can't wait to see where it goes as the development continues moving forward. But for now, this is RetconRaider, signing off. Thanks for watching. Oh, and remember, although I do love playing Phantom Brigade, you can find out more about the game by visiting the official website or the official YouTube channel. Links are in the description.